soon we'll be together and to share experience again. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from Fundación Ifaro in Aruba, Ryan Timothy Maduro.
Buenas tardes a todos los hermanos y colegas de la comunidad habla hispana. Goedemiddag alle vrienden en collega's van de Nederlandse gemeenschap. Bon tardi to Rumanan y mi dushi colleganan di nos comunidad di dushi idioma papiamento. Bon après-midi à tout fac, Sénat créole communauté yo palais. Bonjour à tous frères et sœurs des communautés de langue française. And good afternoon to all brothers and sisters and colleagues from the English-speaking communities. I have been asked to present to you a PLHIV community perspective on the highlights of this historic conference focused on strengthened evidence and sustainability when it comes to HIV/AIDS and STI for the Caribbean region. The first thought that came to my mind is that we waited 7 long years since we last gathered in the Dominican Republic to talk about HIV/AIDS and STI. This historic moment was long due, but like a good cup of coffee, it takes time to brew. At the beginning of this journey, we were reminded by Alison Leacock, in her exquisite role as Miss Calypso, that we are all, and in spite of our aching feet, overwhelmed brain cells, occasional sore throats, neck aches, headaches, blisters and sores, the red eyes, and some bad hair days, we are still looking. So we spent a good 4 days enjoying the beautiful property, the amazing service, the great food and beverage. For some of you, even the casino and the water slides, I saw you. And the exceptional convention facilities of Atlantis Paradise Island. On behalf of the PLHIV community, good job. From the various plenary and concurrent sessions, I would like to highlight the following points, which I thought was very relevant to the issues affecting the community. Now, assumptions were already made 30 years ago that this disease will not be restricted or limited to a segment or group of society. So what happened? Why are we still dealing with stigma and discrimination in 2011? Prevention tools were used since the early 80s to modify behavior of most at-risk populations, and we are still trying. Treatment as prevention was suggested way early at the beginning of the pandemic. Why then are we still debating today whether to start treatment early in detection and not by the time somebody gets sick or drops and that their immune systems becomes compromised to then start treatment? Male circumcision is being suggested as an alternative to prevention. Should this be a choice? Should we clip it? Is it a violation of human rights? Should more dialogue and consultation be made with the Caribbean community as to its application? We know ground zero is, obviously, we talked about Haiti, Dominican Republic, and Jamaica. 80% of the PLHIV primarily come from these areas. But what happened to the small island states? Are we then not part of the Caribbean? Are we just focused on numbers to make interventions? Or should we focus on the lives that HIV touches? While less people are dying, infections have remained the same. Are we doing the right things? And are we doing things right? Hard lessons were learned when we understood about hurricanes and earthquakes. Yes, they will continue to blow us. They will continue to shake us in the Caribbean, which asks the question, how prepared are we for natural disasters in the context of HIV/AIDS? Now, we spoke about passing the baton, but the question is, are we ready? Are those who need to take the baton willing to and ready to do so? And who are they? Do we know who they are? Funds are drying up. For those of you who have not yet come to terms with reality, well, the message was clear to me. Funds are drying up, and they will continue to dry up. Years of dry spell are coming up. We have to quickly develop more creative approaches to generating funds at territory and regional level. We need to establish priorities for funding. And then there's the whole aspect of accountability. We need to take close and urgent look at the effectiveness and efficiency of programs and initiatives at territory level. We have been pouring a lot of funds into prevention, treatment, and care. We've had some great results and some failures. The question that remains for discussion is, what has the effectiveness of funding been as it relates to addressing new infections in HIV prevalence at territory level? While our cultural differences is one of our major strengths in the region, and it may also be our biggest weakness when it comes to effective HIV/AIDS STIs intervention, how are we going to address that? We need to place importance on balance and ethics in research and information as it relates to reality in the application and practicality. After all, it is this research and information that will be used to develop strategies and policies. We have been positively infected by the best practices in public-private partnership as an alternative to funding and outreach for HIV/AIDS STI interventions at community level. As a matter of fact, I would like to refer to PEPFAR's perspective on meaningful participation of the PEEL HIV community, which involves advocacy, placing more pressure on resource allocation, involvement in strategy and policy development, and financial contribution of PEEL HIV in health management. We have been able to now successfully link sex with SEN, SUN, and sea. Partnership with the tourism industry can become a meaningful strategy and play a major role in effective and efficient interventions. My question for reflection remains, what is realistic sustainability? The whole idea of region should not be complex and should be conducive to working together. We need to be careful and appreciative of the lessons learned about the wrong approach to prevention. Remember, mopping the floor while the water is running? We can't wait for the money to run out to find out the new formula, and one size does not fit all. We need to focus on evidence-based interventions. Early detection for care and treatment will assist us in creating meaningful impact in the region. Learn to do more with less, which for us in the Caribbean people should not be a challenge. The investment in HIV is relatively small as compared to the territory's GDP, so I love the idea of the 1% to allocating funds to HIV/AIDS STIs programs and initiatives. We nailed it when we said, when there is no vision, people perish. When we talk about the concept of shared responsibility as a community, are we prepared to assume it? Information targeting youth in regards to HIV/STI prevention is there, and it is readily available. But however, we've concluded that it is not being used effectively or not being used at all. And we know for a fact that 81% of male and female drug users reported unprotected sex risk behaviors. So, have we been effective with our initiatives? We need to make a paradigm shift as it relates to sex workers to perhaps be seen more as a force and an industry rather than only as part of a vulnerable population. HIV in the workplace continues to be an issue as it relates to stigma and discrimination and violation of human rights. We were also introduced to the best practices in the region to stimulate testing and knowing your status through the use of rapid testing as an alternative to early detection and prevention. Media partnership as a strategy can be key in advocacy initiatives and even influence funding opportunities. Unfortunately, in some territories, we are still dealing with the issue of extreme poverty and criminalization based on sexual preference, which continues to fuel the HIV and STI infections in several of our communities. Positive health, dignity, and prevention needs to be done at country level and integrated in the national strategic program. At the end of it all, I can conclude that from all angles, we have done a lot in the region as it relates to HIV/AIDS STIs. So to us, a round of applause. But I also conclude, like it says here, there's much work to be done. The question that has remained in my head is this: and now what? We had the incredible opportunity of 4 intense days to connect, exchange ideas, be inspired, laugh, cry, feel frustrated, everything we experienced. But I want to invite you to join us in the Caribbean HIV/AIDS STI revolution. The time is now. The change is in our hands now. Please, let's bring the ship into shore. It is time to focus on the new approach to addressing HIV/AIDS and STI in the region. So, in the aspect of now what I would invite you to do is this. Please, before you leave today or before you board your plane, on a little piece of note, write down one personal critical takeaway in our learning from this conference. And then I'm going to invite you to put 1 or 2 things that you will do as you reach your country and or your hometown and community. And then you're going to put your name on it, your email address and telephone number, and exchange it with somebody else. That is accountability at its best. So, lastly, what should we do? What should be our commitments? 1, we must plug back in. This implies that regional and territory strategy and policy developments needs to reconnect and re-engage with the grassroots of HIV/AIDS STI interventions. Let's give strokes, according to Professor Bain from UWI. Let's not only focus on the negative, but also on what we have done well. Let's strategize. This implies working smarter, not harder. Each individual needs to make a distinction between self-interest and community and public interest. We need more political commitment from the heart, and not for votes, for credits or recognition, and not for front-page news. We must develop strategic alliances at territory levels, engage more into the public-private partnership experience. We need to do more research. That has been the resounding issue that has remained in my head, more research. But the research needs to be balanced, evidence-based. And we need to put the element of ethics. And please don't forget to keep the human element in everything that we do. The approach of Mother Teresa when she was working with the leprosy in the slums of Calcutta was love and compassion. I think we can do that as well. And then let's do this. Let's talk more about sex. Won't you say it with me? Sex. Okay, do you feel uncomfortable about it? It shouldn't. Our communities should not feel uncomfortable about talking about sex. And when we talk about human rights, I agree with Professor Messiah when he said we need to educate everyone on the Constitution and the rights that we have as individuals. Youth involvement should be at the forefront of the vision of the Renaissance era of the HIV/AIDS STI in the Caribbean. We need to continue engaging the community at all costs and with all means. HIV/STI needs to become our problem. We need to move quickly towards the more than a pills approach and include psychosocial support as an integral part of care and treatment. We must hold each other more accountable for our actions, decisions, attitudes, and investments. We as PL-HIV, we have rights. Yes, we do. But let's not forget that we also have roles. We have obligations. We have responsibilities to assume. PL-HIV meaningful participation needs to be redefined. Basically, what is it? What is meaningful participation? Is it sitting in meetings, drinking coffee, and eating cookie? Or does it imply that we need to work at strategic and policy-making levels in our communities? There is much strength present in the rich information generated throughout this conference, and I ask the question, where can we access all the incredible and abundant information that was presented during this conference? In conclusion, And at the end of all your hard work and involvement, as you get down and busy in your communities and drive HIV/AIDS STI revolution, remember that you will still be looking fabulous. We, as the Positive community, sincerely hope that the 2011 Caribbean Conference is the beginning, and it's not working now, next, is the beginning of more continued commitment to coming together, to use this platform to create permanent transformative behavior in our communities, to continue with the dialogue and consultation. And when we do get together next time, because we are going to get together next time, let's sing together on the accomplishments that we've made from today on to over 2 or 3 years from now. The revolution has started today. Be part of it. Right here in the Bahamas it started, and I thank you. Merci beaucoup, danke, gracias.